This podcast is supported by Notch Beer, brewing and serving European-influenced beer in their beer hall and beer garden, and not only their beautiful location in Salem, Massachusetts on the Salem Harbor, but also in their brand new brewery at 525 Western Avenue in Brighton, Mass., just minutes from downtown Boston, where they also have a beer hall and a beer garden. And check this out, an outdoor live performance and music space. Not only do you get some of the finest brews around, but you can also enjoy live music in their outdoor venue, and indoors they have a DJ spinning vinyl. How cool is that? You know how much we love vinyl around here. And it even gets better. They have free parking. You know how hard it is to get free parking in Boston? It's almost impossible, but they have parking. Notch's beer is available at retail locations throughout Mass and Rhode Island, and also through mail order direct from Mass and PA. If you haven't tried Notch yet, it's about time you do. Get yourself a Notch beer, or better yet, head over to Notch Brewing and tell them Twisted Rico sent you. Welcome to Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo. Today's show is going to be more like a hangout session because I'm going to have my friends Ellie Vee and Wizda from the Charms on, and we're going to talk about new music and some other fun stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. Before we get them on the show, I just got some new info from Adam Klein, who's handling publicity for the Town and the City Festival, which is happening October 22nd and 23rd in Lowell, Mass. And you might remember our friend Chris Porter, who promotes this event, was on the show not too long ago. And I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on because there's a lot happening. And they just released a bunch of dates and venues and everything. So here's some of the info I have here. Here's a few of the highlights. On Friday, October 22nd, at the Christ Church United, it's hard for me not to laugh when I say that. Great place for a rock show. Will Daly's going to be playing at 7:30, and then Tanya Donnelly from Belly and the Parkington Sisters are going to be going at 8:30. At the Warp and Weft, which I believe is, these places are all really close to each other. They're not far at all. They're all in the same area, and that's why they put all these shows together. Hilton Mancini and Chris Colburn are both going to be playing together at 9:30 at the Warp and Weft. And then Aaron and the Lord, which features Aaron Perino, you might remember him from the Sheila Divine. They're playing right after the other show. So I like how they got that set up. You can actually make both shows. On Saturday, these are just some of the highlights. On Saturday the 23rd, once again, at the Christ Church United, the doors are going to be at 7. Robin Lane from Robin Lane and the Chartbusters goes on at 7:30. And check this out. From the Soft Boys in a great solo career, Robin Hitchcock is on at 8:30. And then right down the road at the Smokehouse Tavern, same time. Some people might not get into the Robin Lane, Robin Hitchcock show, so they can head down the road and see The Only Things, The Dailies, the Chelsea Curve, and I like this at 9:45, to be announced. You know it's going to be somebody good, but we don't know who. But now we're going to get to the real highlight of the entire festival. This is the highlight for you folks out there. Our friend Duncan Wilder Johnson is part of a spoken word artists and musicians event at the Luna Theater. It's at 5:30 on Saturday, October 23rd. Okay, you got to go see that because Duncan's been on the show several times. We're good friends, and I'm joking a little here, but I'm plugging him. All of a sudden, he's back out there in the spoken word world. He's going to be doing the show at the Paradise in October. I think it's October 2nd with like Tree and Stompbox and Sam Black Church and all these bands. It's a benefit for Julie Duffy. And that's going to be really cool. So Duncan has 2 shows booked. So really happy for him. We're going to have to get him back on the show again before he becomes such a huge star that we might not be able to get him back on. So if you want tickets, there's plenty of other performers and more listings coming. That's what we have right now. If you want to get tickets, you can get 2-day passes currently on sale. They just went on sale this past Friday. All you have to do is go to www.thetownandthefestival.com. And that's where you can get tickets. You can get a link there where you can purchase tickets. It's going to be a fun event. I highly recommend it. There's even going to be a little tribute to Jack Kerouac. And for you people out there that don't know, Jack Kerouac, the legend, is from Lowell, Massachusetts. So, I mean, it's great. It's a great place to go and hang out for a couple days, and that's coming in October. And we'll keep you up to date as we get more info. Okay, before we bring out Ellie and Joe from the Charms, I'm going to play a track for you like we always do. This is from the album Love is the Reason, one of my favorite all-time garage rock bands from Detroit. Here's the Paybacks doing Stranger in the House.
You wanted to do it. It's too late to change your mind when it's laying at your feet. Laying at your feet. Laying at your feet. Dying in the
Hello. I just heard this morning on Field Day's Instagram page that Punk Rock Bowling, which is one of the biggest and most popular punk festivals in the U.S., is requiring vaccination cards or proof of a recent negative test 48 hours prior to the event. What's your take on that, you guys?
I think that's super smart. I mean, the Delta variant is 93% of cases in the U.S. now, and it's super contagious. But then there's Delta Plus. That's even more contagious. Yeah, there's a new one, Delta Plus.
San Fran.
They say it's coming out of San Fran, but it's probably everywhere. And I know like 10 people, one big family, and my brother-in-law who all got COVID, even though they're vaccinated. And you can spread it to other people.
Well, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Fall Out Boy had to pull off of their Fenway show the other night. It's a big show, too. Green Day, Weezer, The Interrupters. They had one person in their crew that had a positive test, and they had to pull off the show. So I mean,
Yeah.
people are not fucking around with this shit, which I think is a really,
Well, a lot of
really
people are
somebody
fucking
fired
around.
their drummer because they didn't get vaccinated. What band was that? It was in the news.
I didn't hear about that, but
Somebody fired their drummer, like
So-
a famous big band.
wow.
Okay, while you're looking that up, I had a thought about the punk. What is it?
Punk Rock Bowling. It's like the biggest event. It happens in Vegas every year. Field day of my friends from Dag Nasty that are playing. They posted this on their Instagram page this morning because they want people to know that.
That makes sense because I feel like the punk rock community is very like, we take care of each other kind of vibe, and
Yeah.
so I think the vaccination is a symbol of caring for others. Because even if you don't think you're going to die, you could infect other people who are more vulnerable.
Offspring fired their drummer because he wouldn't get vaccinated.
Just fire the whole band. I'm just kidding. I like Offspring.
Well, I mean, that's going to happen more and more because right now anti-vaxxers are controlling the scene. And I think people who are being responsible and getting vaccinated are going to start just getting pissed. And I think, people aren't going to want their kids in school with unvaccinated teachers. People aren't going to want to go to an office with a bunch of people who are breathing all over them and potentially infecting them.
Okay, I don't want to spend the whole show talking about this, but I do want to say one thing, okay? I did not want to get the vaccine. I never got a flu shot. I was totally against it, and I got it. And it was back in May, all right? And now I believe that everyone should show the card when they go out. I'm all for it 100%. If people don't like it, fuck them, because this is ridiculous. Really, we've been doing a good job trying to deal with it, half of us, and the other half don't give a shit.
I'm a baby. I don't want a needle in my arm.
It's
Anyway.
ridiculous. All right, we're done with that. By the way, I just got my test result. I tested negative because I went and got a COVID test just because
Why?
I just wanted to get one. I called my doctor's office and said I've been around people that were traveling and all that, and I got a negative test. Nash was sitting here when they called me and said, "Your test was negative."
That's awesome.
If it was positive, you would have fucking thrown me right out, and then everyone would have been pissed off at me. Like, why did you come here when they told you to quarantine for 2 days? But I gambled. So hey, we're going to talk about new music, and I want to start off this way. When I went and bought my new Mac Air book, which I'm looking at, which I love the other day, I had time to kill and I stumbled into Newbury Comics. And I saw on the vinyl section, the #1 vinyl selling record of the week is Billie Eilish. So I'm thinking, wow, this is interesting. A new artist is #1, fairly new. She's only, 19? And I just was curious about Olivia Rodrigo. So I went and talked to the manager and I said, is Olivia Rodrigo's record available on vinyl? And she's like, it is, but you can only buy vinyl and cassette on her website directly from her. And I'm thinking, wow. Artists today, the way they control everything, they're in a much stronger position and they don't realize it. You don't have the machine, the Steve Ricardo marketing machine, but what you do have is you have the ability to control everything. What do you guys think about that?
It's good and bad. I think it's...
I mean, it sounds really good when you put it that way. So I think for artists like Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish, it's a great thing. But if you are not in that kind of position, you're just mixed in. I think one of the biggest disadvantages is that now anyone can make a record in their house, in their bedroom, in their car. And so if you're a really good artist, you can get lost in the shuffle.
Well, Nate Zucker, who you actually turned me on to, Ellie, who was on my show, he's a 16-year-old kid that was making records in his room. It worked for him. I mean, some people, if you're good, the way I look at it is if you're good, you're good. If you're not good, people are going to know it.
Worked for Clairo.
Some people are just not into
Right.
promoting themselves. Yeah.
Bedroom rock.
But a lot of it's
That's what we
luck.
call
I mean, don't you think it's the same as it's always been? Like it's night. It's like a lot of it is talent and hard work, but then there's that luck element, being in the right place at the right time.
Oh yeah, luck.
It's the same when there were labels.
You got to schmooze. You can't get around that.
Yeah, or you have to get
Get on
lucky and have like
Torres
a
and-
viral video.
Yeah, you mentioned Clairo. She's like from Mass originally. I'm not that familiar with her, but I did check out one of her videos, and she's basically recording a video in her bedroom or something. And she's actually got millions of views and fans.
She's right down the street here, 1A, right? She could switch.
Yeah, she grew up in Carlisle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Carlisle, Mass,
But
for people out there that don't know
think
what
she
we're talking
lives-
about.
I think she lives in Georgia now, in Atlanta.
Interesting.
Like around her family. So Clairo is, I feel like that's the main artist that I'm interested in talking about, because she's really interesting. Like I kind of feel like I wish that I was friends with her when I was in high school. I feel like she's just got this relaxed self-confidence, and maybe she doesn't even realize it because she talks about having angst and all that. But when you listen to her sing, you watch her on stage. I mean, she hasn't done a stage performance in a long time, but I revisited her Ellen DeGeneres and Jimmy Kimmel appearances from 2019 or maybe early
Wow,
2020.
I didn't realize she was that big. Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, her Pretty Girl video came out in 2017, and that like skyrocketed her. It had viral uptake, and it was actually it came out August 4th, and TikTok wasn't even available on the App Store in the US till September. But if you look at that Pretty Girl video, it's almost like the template for TikTok videos. It's her in her bedroom, and she's lip syncing with her track that she recorded with just like the instruments that she had at home, like a 80s. I guess her mom's really into 80s music, so she had this like 80s synth, and then she plays guitar. She's a pretty good guitar player. Like she can finger pick really nicely. So she recorded the whole track in her bedroom. Then her video is her lip syncing, and she's changing outfits. And she said that it was like a song about a breakup with a guy that she kept trying to impress. And she felt really shitty about changing the way she looked and what she wore and everything for this guy. And so the point of the video is she's like, my hair was greasy. If you read the description on YouTube, it's pretty awesome. It's like, my hair was greasy and I felt gross. And the video's like me just feeling okay with that.
I have
So-
mixed feelings about this, actually, because a while ago I was like all about, you got to go in the studio and record on 2-inch tape, and now it's like people are recording on GarageBand, and they have been actually for years now, So I'm not really sure, but I got to tell you this. I know you could think whatever you want about what I'm going to say, my listeners, but I love Olivia Rodrigo, okay? I basically started listening to her music, and I heard her songs. She doesn't record in her bedroom, by the way. She goes in the studio. And I think that there's a lot of young people out there that still, they're bringing it, So a lot of them that are doing it on their own don't know what they're doing, but if some people like her and the Lindas, if you have some kind of guidance at all, you can actually be successful in the music industry, and that makes me happy. And, when I was in Newbury Comics and I saw Billie Eilish had the #1 selling vinyl record in the Newbury Comics chain, I was like, wow, kids are buying. That's the other thing. I asked the manager, I said, who's buying these records? And she's like, kids are buying the records. They're like in their 20s. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, teenagers? Yeah, some teenagers. They sell a lot of turntables at Newbury Comics. So kids could go there and buy one of those Crosley turntables. I don't recommend them, but you can get one of those and you can buy an album or albums and you can support product and not just be a digital person anymore.
I think though, like my point that was a little different. Wait, can you do me a favor? Can you look up, because if my iPad isn't connecting, but can you look up how many views Clairo has on Pretty Girl?
You want me to look it? Joe, you look it up. You're.
I'll look it up.
Okay, so
I think
maybe this is
60
like-
million. I think it's like 60 million.
I think it's more. And I guess like maybe this is a generational difference, but like I think that Clairo speaks to a more like a different era of feminism than even an Olivia Rodrigo, because think about the message she's sending with that, with the fact that she's like, I'm gonna look, I mean, she still looks beautiful, but I'm gonna look, I'm gonna have
75
greasy
million views.
75 million views. She's like, I'm gonna look,
I was
I'm gonna
only
have my
15
greasy
million
hair.
off.
I'm going to have my sweatshirt. I'm going to have just the crap in my room behind me. And I'm going to protest the idea that girls have to look pretty and change the way they look for a guy.
I don't have an
That's
issue with that. I think that's good.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that that's the former aesthetic of rock and roll. Like when you
No.
think about the Runaways and how Kim Fowley probably told Sherry Curry to, you know, dress up in garters and a teddy. Like,
You had to
It's-
bring up Kim Fowley, didn't you? You had to do it.
well, yeah, I mean, that's like what was expected of you to be in an all-girl band. And now,
Brother Harry too. was
like,
that.
Clairo's like, screw that. I'm going to have greasy hair and be like, I'm not ever going to change for a guy again. And like, what I love about her is you see her on stage and she's not only, you know what? I think her songwriting is so natural. It's like she just, you know, and she wrote something like 300 songs for her last record.
Wow.
She threw away tons of them and she kept like 10 or 12. And then a few more she's keeping for her other band, Shelly.
Here's an
So, I
interesting.
mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but here's an interesting thing about Olivia Rodrigo, Billie Eilish, Clairo, and Torres, who we're going to talk about. They're all writing their own songs, and they're writing their own songs is the big thing, because for a while you would have a lot of artists that were selling millions of records or having millions of views that weren't writing their own songs. I guess Taylor Swift, you have to give credit for that. But there's a lot of other people, they would have like 8 people writing their songs for them. The younger
Like
people are writing
yeah.
their own songs.
Yeah. I mean, I think you retain a lot more control over your music if you write your own songs.
I agree.
It's harder. And we talked about the other day when we talked on the phone, we were talking about how Olivia Rodrigo came out so strong with her first record that it's like you gotta hope that she doesn't feel that pressure on the sophomore record.
Yeah.
You know?
Because we
And
all.
that's
Yeah.
the thing about not having a songwriting partner. Like you're on your own.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know. But that's been a problem. That's not a problem, but that's been going on for years, because a lot of people will say the Pretenders' first record might have been their best record. The Cars' first record might have been their best record. You know, you could say that about a lot of bands. Their first record is great because all of their stuff that they had, that they worked their way up to getting a record out. You're right.
Yep.
There is a lot of pressure on Olivia Rodrigo.
Well,
There
that
is.
actually brings up, like along those lines, there's this other artist that Joe found, Michael Kiwanuka. Have you heard of him?
No. Trying to stump me, aren't you?
Kiwanuka. He's a British artist, and he references like 50s and 50s music and like 70s soul. And he has, I guess he had a track in this, what's the show? It's called like, not Pretty Little Things or something, but what is it? Anyway, he got in some American show and that like shot him up in fame in the US. And then but before that, he was only known in the UK. So I read an interview with him and he said that there's a beauty and an ease to not being well known because you write for yourself and there's no pressure. And then once you're well known, then you have all that pressure on you.
Hmm.
And I actually think his first record is like my favorite one.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. The song Bones is like, it's like a timeless
I
track.
think I know what you're I think I know the track you're talking about. Now that you mention it, I just didn't remember the name. Can we talk about an artist that doesn't sell millions of records and doesn't get millions of views, but had the number one most added record at college radio this week? Torres, Mackenzie Ruth Scott. I'm going to give you a little background on our listeners, a little background in case you don't know. She's born in Orlando in a conservative Christian family. I love when the story always starts that way. She spent some time in Nashville before settling in New York. She just released her 5th record. And here's the part I love. It's called Thirstier, the new record. Here's the part that I love. After her 4th record, she was dropped by 4AD, which is an really good English label, but immediately got signed by Merge Records and proven the point that she's more than just, she's definitely consistent, because I went back and revisited her catalog, and she's been working with Rob Ellis, who the name might sound familiar. Has worked with PJ Harvey, one of my favorites, for many, many years. He's a drummer and a percussionist and also a producer. But the song "A Perfect Day, Elise" by PJ Harvey is one of my favorites, and the percussion and drumming on that is incredible. Torres is like fabulous. I don't know if you guys have checked her out, but she's an artist that isn't getting the millions, but she's getting the respect from the indie rock world, and she's on her 5th record now. I love artists like that. She's only 30. She's on her 5th record. She's working at it, and it's keeping the independent indie rock scene going, artists like that. And have you guys checked out Torres?
I checked out that one track, and what her vocals remind me of a combination of Pat Benatar and Patti Smith.
Oh, okay.
She's got that kind of like 80s urgency about her voice, but she's got the like rough edges of Patti Smith.
Interesting.
And she's got Samplaku eyes.
She does.
Yeah. Like, you know, when the eyes have like white on the bot showing below the pupil. Considered a dangerous or risky characteristic.
I noticed several physical characteristics about her, but that wasn't one of them. But she's really tall, I noticed. And her videos that she makes, a lot of them aside from Thirstier, she shot them in her kitchen. She's always chopping food in her videos, which I think is really cool. There's another girl with her that's always hugging her and kissing her. I assume that's her wife, girlfriend, whatever. And I just like her style. She's kind of like, there's nothing pretentious about her. And I checked her tour schedule. She's doing clubs. She's playing 5 shows in New England starting in August. Places like the Press Room in Portsmouth, Sonia in Cambridge, Electric Haze, which is a divey little bar in Worcester. And there's a show in Egremont, Mass. I'll give you whatever you want if you could tell me where Egremont, Mass is. Don't look at a map.
No idea.
It's in the lower corner of Western Massachusetts. It's like this little hick town. I don't know what she's doing playing there, but I love that she is. I am so excited about her new record that I'm going to try and make it out to one of these shows. Maybe the one in Worcester at Electric Haze, which is a little divey bar. And I actually want to get Mackenzie Ruth Scott to come on my show. And I'm going to try and contact Merge and see if she'll come on, because I really like her style and I love that she writes all her songs, and I really dig her. And
It's an awesome idea.
even though she's on her 5th record, I still consider her a really new artist because she's only 30.
So, can I tell you who else has Samplaku eyes? Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Princess Diana.
Charlie Manson.
No, his Samplaku is above the pupils, not below. That's like the crazy version. But
Wow.
yeah. And then the guy from what's this guy? This actor It was.
You never know where this show's going, Mike. You never know. I'm
I
talking to
never.
our engineer Mike Nash right now, who's sitting there with a bewildered look on his face. But it's all understandable. So Joe,
Yes, my friend.
any guitar gods out there up and coming that I should be aware of? Because you and I come from the school of that we love Jeff Beck and Brian May, and
I
one
love
of us
Jeff
loves
Beck
Ace
and Brian
Frehley.
May. Ace.
I mean, who's
It's
really like kicking ass on guitar?
I don't know, man. I'm not listening to a lot of guitar music these days. I haven't been. Sorry.
Is that because you broke
I
your
love
hand?
Old, yeah, like Jeff. Yeah, I'll put Jeff Beck on, but like new music. I don't know, man. I've been listening to the Angel Olsen record a lot lately, and she's good. I mean, it's not Jimmy Page.
Where do you find your new music, Joe?
The lazy way. My Spotify will generate a list, and I'm like, this is really cool, and then I follow that person, and then I listen to them.
I thought you were a satellite radio guy, but maybe you've changed.
I like satellite radio. Yeah, actually, I heard Angel Olsen first on satellite radio. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we found like Sharon Van Etten,
Yeah.
Angel Olsen. I mean, Molly Birch, Wild Nothing.
Yep.
What's the other?
Molly Birch, I tried to get into, but I can't get into her for some reason. Something
only
about
like
her
that one
voice bugs
song.
me.
I only like that one song she did with Wild Nothing.
Nicole A., who was supposed to be here today, and we got Joe, the Ellie Vee and Nicole A. New Music Review Part 2. That's what this was supposed to be. But we got Joe Wizda to fill in because Joe Wizda turns out to be the one that's listening to more new music than all of us put together, which amazes me.
Unfortunately, I don't have the gift of gab as our good friend Ellie over here.
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of practice. I just blab into this microphone every week. So, I've been listening to a lot more new music lately, though. So, who else are you guys hearing? Ellie, is there anyone that you haven't mentioned, or you just rattled off a bunch of people?
Yeah. So, the other band that I discovered that I think is kind of interesting is this band Fauve, and they're a French band.
Fauve. I've never heard of them.
How do you spell that?
It's Fauve.
Huh.
Fauve. And they are like, I think if they were talking and singing in English, I'd probably hate them. But because it's French, I can deal with the major angst because my French is so rusty and they talk so fast. They do like this. They have a bunch of tracks where they sing, but their new style is a Serge Gainsbourg like
Nice
talking style. You know the songs where he talks?
Yeah.
So
sexy
they have
stuff.
kind of like they have like a very transparent sound to their tracks. Like there's not a lot of distortion. There is some distortion where appropriate, where they get very angst ridden, but they use a lot of like clean guitars, vocal harmonies, and like clear, like keyboard sounds, a lot of clarity, and they have kind of hypnotic tracks, and then they're almost like poetry. It's almost like poetry over these tracks. So it's nice. Like when I'm working, it's very hypnotic, and the voice is very like nice sound. It's got a good timbre. So I think they're kind of interesting. And when you read their lyrics, it's a little overwhelming, but they sing about like the misery of love and like societal problems.
Sounds like my life story.
Yeah. But I can't.
The misery of love. Oh God, help me.
It's very French. And then like those are the artists that I wanted to talk about. The Michael Kiwanuka, Clairo, and Fauve.
Have you heard this new band, the Beach Boys?
Well,
that's what my dad's a classical pianist, and he heard a Kokomo on the radio, and he was like, "Is this a new band?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like 10 years ago." And already, like that was even a new song for the Beach Boys, and it was 20 years old by then. So yeah.
Wow, well that's good. You dropped a few new artists on us, and that was the whole point of this, to hear some new artists. switching the topic for a minute here. Are you guys going to go? I know you have two young children that probably they haven't been vaccinated yet, right?
They can't get vaccinated.
Right,
If
that's
you're
what I
under
mean.
12, there isn't a vaccination.
I'm surprised you can't hear the one playing Fortnite right now. He's so loud.
So you're not going to probably be going to any shows in the near future.
So when the summer first started, I felt very free because to go wherever. And at first I was wearing a mask indoors, but then I decided like we're vaccinated. People aren't getting us who are vaccinated. And then in the past few weeks, because of the Delta variant and knowing a bunch of people who've gotten like actually sick, not like hospitalization sick, but sick enough to take a couple days off from work, who are vaccinated, I realized that to protect the kids, we have to be super careful.
Yeah.
We can't be, the people I know who got it outdoors
And they're
they're vaccinated.
They don't have kids.
Well, no, Noha has kids.
I don't know Noha.
So no, like one person I know has a little kid who got it and he's not vaccinated. So I have to be super careful.
Well,
I mean,
you know
Joe
what? I mean, right now in the studio here, because Mike and I are here every Saturday, I don't have a mask on, but every time I've gone into a store or a supermarket or anywhere I've gone, I'm still carrying my mask. I have it in my pocket. It comes with me everywhere. It's a little worn out. I mean, I have several masks, but my blowing smoke with Twisted Rico mask is my go-to
One
mask.
of those?
It's my number one seed. Imagine that we're talking about our favorite masks. What has happened?
We should have invested. We should have invested in masks and oat milk. We'd be barren.
I like oat milk.
It's the best. I'm like, why didn't I discover this sooner? And why didn't I start an oat milk business like 5 years ago? So yeah.
All right.
It's way
So
better
listen,
than almond milk.
so before you guys go, a lot of people I talked to and said that I told you we're going to be on the show, of course, going to say, well, why didn't you ask him any charms questions? So I have to do that. Is there any chance at all that the charms will ever be ever playing a show or recording or ever anything ever again? Or have you guys retired?
Never say never, but I have so many, my job is super creative. I do visual design. And I do sound design at work too, and I don't know if my job is really creative, really intense, and I don't know if I really need more creative outlet. Plus having kids is like a work, you're creating a new world every single day, dealing with different problems. I mean, what do you think?
I would do it if everybody else was, but
Everybody else, that's the big question.
I'm not pining or, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like I think I said this when we were talking to Nicole. I'm starting this pollinator garden project with some younger people, some kids and a teenager who's our babysitter's younger sister, because there's such a huge problem with insect populations dropping, and that's the whole food chain. And it's
You have more important things to do than do garage rock. I get it.
We gotta save the world. I mean, you have artists like, Torres and Michael Kiwanuka,
So personally,
Clairo. Why they're doing amazing stuff. Why do I don't need to compete with that. They've got.
So I was going to say, personally knowing the
they've
Charms,
got it.
So personally knowing the Charms manager who keeps telling me that Wicked Cool's calling about the next record, I can just tell them to fuck off, basically, right?
Yeah. Even if they're not calling about that, you can tell them to fuck off.
I tried to get Joe to laugh, and for a minute he had a look on his face, because I'm on Zoom with these guys right now, which you can't. Too bad you guys can't see that. And he just had a look on his face like, where's he going with this?
I didn't know. I never know what you're up to.
Anytime you can tell Wicked Cool to fuck off, that's a good thing for you.
Okay, I lied. I do have one more thing. You guys came down the Notch Brewing, the sponsor of the show, and you guys had some Notch beers. What do you think about the Notch beer? Be very careful how you answer the question.
Amazing. And the staff there, weren't they the coolest?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
and I can't wait to visit the brewery in Salem.
Yeah,
We got to get there.
we got to get down there.
I like Notch.
For years, our rehearsal space was right down the street from the Speedway, and for years we'd go by that old complex of buildings that was built in like the early to
Long time ago.
hundreds, and we'd say, "Oh my God, someone should restore that and put a beer garden in there." And that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We started saying that, and now, like when you told me where it was, I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" It's almost like that manifest.
We made it manifest.
Where you're like, I wish, and you just wish, and then it happened.
They stole your oat milk idea. They stole your Speedway idea.
Oh, I never thought about oat milk. And frankly, I'm glad I didn't have to renovate that place. I'm just glad someone did it.
Well, listen, guys, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And, you're always welcome on Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico because you're part of the family.
Yes.
Thanks, Steve.
And did I tell you that Night Bob said to say hi last week, 2 weeks ago when I had him on? Night Bob
That was a great
hello.
Interview.
Thank you.
It was a fantastic interview.
Yeah, anyone who hasn't listened to it, it's awesome. And I love Night Bob. He's so warm. And when we saw him backstage when our friend Jeremy was playing with Ace Frehley like 2 years ago in Massachusetts, he sat with us and told us all of these cool stories about Bon Scott and Walter Becker and like all these people he's worked with.
He's got a lot of Walter Becker stories, man.
Yeah.
A lot.
Those are fun.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, guys, enjoy the weather up at the beach. I won't disclose your location.
The Nash shot. Oh, one last thing. My favorite thing in Clairo's Pretty Girl video is that she's drinking a giant iced coffee from Dunkies.
Oh.
And I'm like, what is more Massachusetts than that?
Iced tea with extra lemon. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later.
All
See
right.
ya.
Bye.
See you later.
Woke up with a brand new obsession only yesterday. It's a whole new compulsion and it's with me both night and day. And even though I know that I don't need it, I think I'm gonna go ahead and feed it. Because my brand new obsession doesn't seem to want to go away. I got a whole new obsession and it's really got a twist on me. Just a gnawing compulsion that I call my little OCD. And it's turning my head around, and I hope it doesn't bring me down. Because my brand new obsession doesn't seem to want to let me be. Got a brand new obsession and it's pulling me to and fro. And the thing that I'm focused on is something that you all know. I got a woman driving me insane, and I can't get her out my brain. But this brand new compulsion doesn't seem to want to let me go. My little OCD, brand new compulsion doesn't seem to want to let me go.
All right, that was a lot of fun. The track you just heard, by the way, was the classic Ruins with Little OCD, something that yours truly can relate to. It was written by Frank Rowe. That's from their 2020 album, Forget About It, on Rumbar Records. That one was produced by our friend Ed Velasquez, who everyone knows as Ed V over at Q Division. Was in Somerville, moving to Cambridge. I'm curious to see what their new location's like in Cambridge. They're working on it right now, should be open soon. I know a lot of people from out of town come to Boston and record, and Q Division's a very popular studio to record in. I've been to the old one many times. Awesome place. I want to mention some of my friends that have small businesses because I used to do a lot of that. I haven't done that lately, but I'm going to do it right now. Baby Loves Tacos in Pittsburgh, who've created a market at their Millvale location, which I'm really excited to check out. The next time I'm in the Steel City, I plan on heading over to all their locations. You can check out their Instagram page at Baby Loves Tacos, and you'll see the photos and all the info about what's going on with the Millvale location. And if you're near Pittsburgh or anywhere near Pittsburgh, go and have some tacos and say hi for me. Also, JLS Design in Leicester, Massachusetts, where they do custom screen printing and embroidery. You can find them at jlsdesignprinting.com or at jlsdesignsales@gmail.com. Please check those guys out. And I'm pretty sure if you mention Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico, you'll get a discount. They used to give a discount, and they will. They're going to have to now because I just said it on the air. So they have no choice. Thanks to everyone that supports this show on patreon.com/Twisted Rico. You can reach me at twistedrico@gmail.com, on Instagram at Blowing Smoke with TR, on Twitter at Blowing Smoke BS, at Blowing Smoke BS. We also have a Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico YouTube page, which you should know by now because I mention it every week. I want to thank Mike Nash here at Voice Motel, at Voice Motel on Instagram in Somerville for engineering this show and doing a great job as usual. And I got to mention, Seems to Me with Sibylline Seriano, another podcast that we put 11 episodes out on, and we took a little break. We're coming back at you. So stay tuned for that. That's also available on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google, Breaker, YouTube. And like I said, we were on a little bit of hiatus, but we're going to start recording again next week. So stay tuned for that. That should be a lot of fun. All right. So till the next time we say goodbye, this is Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo. Keep the rock and roll alive.
Time to make it right. Meet me down at Lakeside after twilight. Let's multiply times 2.
Voice is recorded at Voice Motel, voicemotel.com, your complete podcast recording experience, located in Union Square, Somerville, Massachusetts.